What's up, everybody? Disney had some major announcements this week due to a recent earnings call, and Bob Iger showed up with his big D energy, came out swinging, and dropped a whole lot of bombs on us. Some notable mentions was the Taylor Swift Eras Concert Tour is going to be streaming on Disney Plus exclusively in March. Disney and Epic are basically bed buddies, with Disney spending $1.5 billion in investment to work with the Fortnite creator. And Moana 2, we're getting a sequel to Moana, which was never announced or even mentioned in the past. All that plus some ideas and thoughts of where they're heading with their studio slate, Disney Plus streaming. Did I mention ESPN was a major focal point as well during this call? I wanted to just take the time to really break down all the news and announcements, kind of recap everything, and lend my 2 cents, and let's have a conversation about all of them. Man, Bobby, you've been busy, huh? Bet they're really happy to have you back. First, let's start with the big Epic Games announcement. I am reading some of this stuff from The Hollywood Reporter, and we'll also be covering some of the stuff that was actually mentioned on the call, which I kind of recapped on my own. In a major initiative, the Walt Disney Company and Fortnite studio Epic Games will create a new games and entertainment universe that brings Disney characters from franchises like Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, and Avatar together. Disney CEO Bob Iger announced the partnership in an interview on CNBC on Wednesday. Disney is also making a $1.5 billion equity investment into Epic Games to support this multi-year project. Iger described the project as a huge Disney universe that will be for gaming and for play, and for watching, and even for shopping for digital goods, and maybe ultimately physical goods that will live alongside Fortnite but be completely interconnected with Fortnite. Now, on the earnings call, Bob Iger went into more details about this partnership and long-term thing that they're working with Epic Games, and he said this: "In fact, among millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha, a significant amount of time spent on screen-based platforms is playing video games. This new universe from Disney and Epic provides us with a tremendous opportunity to not only meet more consumers where they are, but to follow more audiences, to cultivate a bond with Disney's iconic brands and franchises, including Marvel, Star Wars, and much more. Looking at the renewed strength of our business this quarter, from sports to entertainment to experiences, the stage is now set for significant growth and success. In that regard, we see ample opportunity to increase shareholder returns as our earnings and free cash flow continue to grow." The Hollywood Reporter also says that Disney has historically licensed its IP to third-party game studios, though it has a history with Epic Games, with Epic participating in a 2017 Disney Accelerator, and with companies partnering on bringing some Disney characters to Fortnite in the past. Very much like 2019 Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, and some of the Mandalorian tie-ins that we've seen in the past with Fortnite, and currently like we're seeing now with Rocket League. The company also described the new universe as something more akin to a social network, saying that players, gamers, and fans will be able to create their own stories and experiences, express their fandom in a distinctly Disney way, and share content with each other in ways that they love. Iger discussed his thoughts on why the company was investing in video games. "We've tried our hand at video games in a number of different directions," Iger said, "and actually the one that ended up being the most successful for us was the license. And in fact, we've licensed, I think, $9 billion from franchises, including the Spider-Man franchise, which is the most successful video game last year. I just think that given the demographic trends, and given the success of Fortnite, they're experiencing a really great year of both customer satisfaction and growth as they return to some of their roots," he continued. "We just think as we take our IP from our movies and our television shows, and we have them expressed in our parks, this is a great way to do it in games. And for us, it's a way to have skin in the game with them." Now, what this pretty much sounds like to me is that this is a great partnership and venture for Disney to really help cross-promote a lot of their properties. One of the things I've always said to my friends that it's a shame that I am not into Fortnite like most people, because I love the tie-ins that they have with all of these other companies, with skins and characters you're able to play within these games. And Fortnite is still such a huge, successful social and gaming platform for a lot of the younger generation. So for Disney to be able to promote things like their Star Wars properties, the Marvel stuff, Pixar, anything that they're working on, is brilliant in my mind, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Epic has already proven that they have the ability to speak to this younger generation, and now bringing Disney into the mix, now you have a lot of strong IPs that Epic can really work with in doing such things. We've already kind of seen this with Hot Wheels teaming up with Fortnite, having their own kind of area. So I can only imagine what that's going to look like when Disney really gets their own dedicated universe within the Fortnite structure. So that's huge news. I mean, I don't know what the fans are going to be thinking about this partnership, but only time will tell. But I think based off of the reactions that they've had with previous collaborations when it comes to Disney properties within the Fortnite universe, I think they're going to be doing just fine. So now let's talk about Taylor Swift and that Eras concert tour now being available to stream on Disney Plus in March. I mean, that is tremendous news, and I think a lot of people were wondering, where is this film going to end up when it's going to be available to finally stream on some sort of home platform? Personally, I always thought that Max was eventually going to team up with her, but Disney, I think, is the perfect location, and Disney Plus is the perfect platform because that's the audience and that's the generation that I think really ties in well with Taylor's kind of messaging, and who are just basically the fans of Taylor Swift here. So let's read more stuff and details about this kind of partnership from The Hollywood Reporter. Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour concert pick, is headed for Disney Plus in a coup for the streamer, considering the clout and breadth of the superstar's fan base. A souped-up version of the film will stream exclusively on Disney Plus starting March 15. Under the extended title, Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, Taylor's version. It will include the song Cardigan as well as 4 acoustic songs not included in the theatrical or video-on-demand releases. Disney CEO Bob Iger revealed the news during the company's earnings call. Any streamer would have jumped at the chance to carry the Eras Tour. The movie was one of the biggest box office sensations of 2023 and stands as the top-grossing concert documentary movie of all time, not adjusted for inflation. The movie grossed $180.8 million domestically and $80.9 million overseas for a staggering total of $261.1 million against a mere $15 million budget. Swift and her team surprised many when bypassing the studio system and using AMC theaters to distribute Eras Tour to theaters around the world, including rival chains. The move was highly unorthodox since exhibitors don't generally dabble in distribution. This is huge news, and I keep saying that last year was the year of Taylor. There's a reason why she's named Time Magazine's Person of the Year, right? And this is going to mean a lot for Disney Plus once this film is available to stream. One thing that Disney has been really focusing on is growing their subscriber base and keeping that loyalty invested within the platform. During the call, they announced that they've lost less money than they have in previous quarters, and they're really trying to button that up more. You know, stuff like cutting down on password sharing and including programming that will be really appealing to a lot of the audiences out there. This is one thing that will definitely bring subscribers to the platform, very much similarly to what we've seen when Hamilton was available to the stream. And Disney Plus has proven itself to be a really interesting platform to see musical acts and documentaries based off of musical acts. We've seen the Beatles with their interesting documentary that was released not that long ago. BTS has several things that you can watch on Disney Plus. One of my favorite Japanese pop groups, Perfume, had a special on Disney Plus that you can watch. So it's really interesting to see that Disney is really honing in on these generational stars to really lead the way in making sure that they can grab that type of audience to their platform. Like I said, this is major news, and it's amazing that they were able to really seal the deal here. And I'm sure Bob Iger was more than elated once that all came about. All right, so what about the studio side of things? You know, the movies, Marvel, Star Wars, all that stuff. It made some major announcements, and one of the big surprise, like I mentioned at the top, was Moana 2. That was something that was never mentioned in the past and was a huge shock and surprise when Bob Iger announced it during the call. And here's some of what he said during that announcement. As I mentioned at the top of the call, this November we'll release a feature-length animated sequel to Moana. This was originally developed as a series, but we were impressed with what we saw, and we knew it deserved a theatrical release. The original Moana film from 2016 recently crossed 1 billion hours streaming on Disney Plus and was the most streamed movie of 2023 on any platform in the United States. Along with the live-action version of the original film that's currently in development, Moana remains an incredibly popular franchise, and we can't wait to give you more of Moana and Maui when Moana 2 comes to theaters this November. It should also be noted that Wicked Part 1 and Moana 2 will both release on the same day in theaters on November 27. It should also be noted that Lin-Manuel Miranda will not return to co-write songs on Moana 2. Now that last part there may be disappointing for a lot of fans. For me personally, I think it is a relief. I'm a little tired of what I call the Miranda effect. I feel like he's a little bit everywhere, and I think giving a new breath, a new chance to someone to really build the soundtrack here could be refreshing overall. But it's also interesting that he's not working on Moana 2, given that he's been working on so many Disney properties and they had some sort of deal going on. So I'm wondering what's going on that side of things. Okay, what about the rest of this stuff here? So let me continue to recap what was said over the call. As part of its earnings call today, Disney Pictures has locked in release years for a number of its core film titles. This year we'll see Inside Out 2 arriving June 14th, followed by Moana 2 on November 27th, the latter going directly up against the first part of the Wicked musical adaptation, as I mentioned before. 2025 will see Zootopia 2 make its debut, likely around the Thanksgiving window. In 2026, the studio intends to release a trio of juggernauts: Frozen 3, Toy Story 5, and the Star Wars film The Mandalorian and Grogu. Prior to the actors' strike, Disney had dates put aside for 2 Star Wars films in 2026, May 22nd and December 18th, and one for December 17th, 2027. The company previously stated the Mando movie would be the Star Wars movie coming first, and reaffirmed that today. So now it's presumed either it will take the May slot and the Daisy Ridley-led film will take the December 2026 date, or the May slot will be scrapped with Mando in December 2026 and the Ridley-led film hits in December of 2027. Bob Iger also said on the call that looking to our 2025 theatrical slate, we're excited to bring audiences Captain America: Brave New World, Fantastic Four, Pixar's Elio, Zootopia 2, and Avatar 3, and we're already looking forward to 2026 and beyond with Frozen 3, the first Toy Story movie since 2019, and a new Star Wars movie that brings The Mandalorian and Grogu to the big screen for the very first time. He also briefly mentioned that output of content is being reduced at Marvel Studios with focus on some of its stronger franchises. So personally, this says a lot to me. It says to me that they're putting a lot of big bets on things that they've seen work in the past, and that's sequels to a lot of their main animated features. One of the things that Bob Iger criticized Chapek on was all the focus and attention being put on Disney Plus in abundance and in very short periods of time. Now you could kind of see that Bob Iger is pushing the needle in trying to force audiences to really go to theaters to see these mostly anticipated titles coming out. I think this is going to be kind of a hurdle for Disney and for any studio, to be honest with you, because I think audiences and people in general just got too used of watching things from home thanks to the pandemic. So I can see people kind of still waiting for these releases to eventually show up on Disney Plus, but I think secretly that's also what Bob Iger is hoping for. He wants these movies to kind of lead the way to not only allow audiences to experience them on the big screen at movie theaters, but they want people to really anticipate for these things to eventually find its home there streaming on Disney Plus. That's kind of how you build loyalty, that's how you build anticipation, and that's how you kind of maintain subscriber base too. Now, when it comes to the Marvel and Star Wars, he did mention some titles there that we heard, but he didn't really elaborate a lot on what to be expected on the Marvel side or what's to be expected on the Star Wars side. I'm sure more of those conversations are going to be had and released later on in the weeks to come, but it sounds to me more and more the focus may be kind of like reeling in some of the stuff that they've been releasing for Marvel and Star Wars and just reevaluating everything like they've been doing already since last year. And hopefully this would mean that it's going to shift the focus to quality over quantity. With Deadpool 3 still being the lone Marvel movie that's being released this year in theaters, I think that's going to lead the way and kind of prove and show to us what is going to be working for Disney moving forward. Now on Disney Plus, I believe Marvel has 2 live action shows releasing this year, with Star Wars having 2 other ones releasing and some animated stuff releasing for the properties as well. So we'll see how those things play out on the streaming service once that happens. Also notice that some movies like Thunderbolts wasn't mentioned during the call or during some of the interviews that happened afterwards. So I'm expecting that maybe they may be anticipating further delays and maybe pushbacks on some of these other titles. Only time would tell and we'll find out. But also to mention too that it was also announced that Percy Jackson was renewed because that proved to be such a strong juggernaut on the Disney Plus streaming platform. And what's the whole deal with all of this major ESPN talk going on? Well, there was a lot to be said about that, and things on that side kind of blew up with a special announcement that was made on Tuesday on this mega conglomerate with all of these studios combining together to pretty much put together one mega streaming service for sports only. But some stuff on ESPN was definitely covered on the call. I'm here on The Hollywood Reporter to kind of explain some of that right now. ESPN has set a timetable for the launch of a standalone streaming platform. The Disney-owned sports giant is targeting fall 2025 for the debut of a much-discussed streaming service that will feature most of the programming currently seen on ESPN's flagship cable channel. Disney CEO Bob Iger discussed the streaming service in a CNBC interview Wednesday ahead of the company's quarterly earnings call. Bob Iger says, "Our plan now is to bring so-called flagship to the market, probably in the fall, maybe as early as late August of 2025. Later on the call, Iger said the new service would be a one-stop shop for sports fans. The Wednesday announcement comes a day after Disney, Warner Bros. Discovery, and Fox jointly announced a different sports streaming effort that will feature live streams of sporting events on ESPN, ABC, Fox, TNT, and TBS. The new service, slated to launch later this year, would feature some NFL games, virtually all national telecasts for Major League Baseball, the NBA, and the NHL, and the host of college sports." Iger also noted that with the decline in linear TV, ESPN derives a big chunk of its revenue from carriage fees from cable and satellite operators. A move to streaming had to be in the cards. "We've been preparing for a world where that business is not as strong as it used to be," Iger said. "I'd rather be a disruptor than to be disrupted. The linear business is still a business that serves us well and that's profitable for us, and we intend to continue to be in it. We're investing in it in terms of the channels that we own, running them more efficiently, but we also have to be mindful of where the consumer is now and where the consumers go." So I think basically what this means is that the whole ESPN Plus that we have now, that's gonna get a major bump and a major overhaul. And basically we're gonna get this whole mega ESPN platform that Disney can properly kind of market and sell on its own, as well as include in with a bundle with everything else. But one of the things that I've always said for a very long time now, and I've mentioned this in some of my live streams, is the streaming services are trying to find a way to incorporate sports in all of their platforms. Whoever can figure that out the best will eventually lead the streaming race, I think, in the long run. The fact that you have all of these major studios teaming up to kind of put together and combine their efforts into one major streaming service is crazy and phenomenal and may work eventually. And in a way that kind of puts a lot of pressure off of these services to incorporate sports into their main platforms. The last two parts of the call really went more into some of the Disney park stuff and their overall financial outlook and outcome from their previous fiscal quarters. So I'm going to briefly cover all that stuff that was mentioned on the call right now. In regards to their parks, every one of our parks was profitable in Q1, giving us an incredibly solid foundation to build upon as we invest significantly to turbocharge growth in this business. We've had a tremendous response from guests visiting our newly opened world of Frozen at Hong Kong Disneyland, as well as our first ever Zootopia Land at Shanghai Disney Resort. And as I've said before, we also have so many untapped stories just waiting to be brought to life in our parks across the globe as we continue to invest in this extraordinary business. Basically, what this means to me is that they're really going to be putting a lot of efforts in their parks now that they're finally seeing some profit out of it. Whether or not that means expansions of current existing areas or inclusions of and building of brand new areas, that's yet to be seen. But it's nice to hear that the parks are finally recuperating from all the stuff that's been happening in the last couple of years. Maybe this could mean the bringing back of certain benefits like the meal pass, maybe a reconfiguration of the Fast Pass system. Only time will tell, but I know that's on everyone's top list if you're a huge Disney Parks fan. Now, when it comes to financials, our current position of strength and confidence in our path ahead already led us to pay a dividend to our shareholders last month. And I am pleased to share that the board declared that our next semi-annual dividend to be paid in July will be 50% higher versus the last dividend paid in January. The board has also authorized the company to begin repurchasing shares for the first time since fiscal 2018, and we plan to start by targeting $3 billion this fiscal year. As we continue to invest in our growth, businesses, and maintain our strong balance sheet, we also expect to prioritize dividend payments and share repurchases in the coming years. This is basically just all highlighting how much they want to give back to their investors, shareholders, and the like. They're very confident that this year is going to be huge for them, hence why they're very bullish on some of the stuff that they're declaring here. And to be honest with you, Wall Street is loving it because as of today, which is Thursday the 8th, Wall Street was gleaming and was elated. Here's a quick read from The Hollywood Reporter about all of that. The Magic Kingdom is getting its magic back and Wall Street is elated. Disney's latest quarterly earnings report is in, along with the color from CEO Bob Iger and his team on a new sports streaming joint venture with Fox and Warner Brothers Discovery, plus news of a $1.5 billion investment in Fortnite parent Epic Games and the fall 2025 launch date for an ESPN standalone streaming service. Wall Street analysts had much to digest overnight, but most came away with optimism and increased stock price targets for Disney. In pre-market trading on Thursday, Disney shares were up more than 7% above $106. So Wall Street is excited about all the news that Disney dropped yesterday. Fans are excited or cautiously optimistic about things. I personally am kind of excited and also cautiously optimistic for all the stuff that's happening now, but a lot of this stuff really makes sense. I think it's a major win for Disney to land Taylor Swift and the Eras concert tour to be streaming exclusively on Disney Plus. With that added bonus content, I think that is huge stuff there. Really will please the fans and get more people to hop on the service just to be able to check that out. The major surprise announcements of Moana 2, I think pleased a lot of people as well. Some clarifications of what their slate is looking like this year and next year and the year after shed some light on what some of their focus is on, but it's interesting to see how much of it is really filled with sequels. They're really betting strong on sequels to like Inside Out, Frozen, Toy Story is coming back again, Zootopia. So they're very, very strong in believing that this is gonna help bring people back to theaters in the coming years. But notice how they didn't mention anything about the live action Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs movie. Could we possibly be seeing less of these live action reboots and remakes and blah blah blah, all this stuff? Maybe they're finally getting the hint that fans and moviegoers aren't so thrilled about these things. Or who knows, maybe there's just not much to talk about, but I do find it very interesting that there wasn't any mention of any of that. But as a fan of movies and gaming, I think the huge major announcement and big surprise was the major partnership with Epic Games and that major $1.5 billion in investment. You know Disney now has some stake within that company. So only time will tell as to what's going to come out of that, if Disney's going to start dictating things on their end, but it's pretty certain that now we're going to get a major foothold of Disney related properties within the Fortnite universe. Maybe we'll see more Rocket League kind of collaborations. And in my mind, this makes a whole lot of sense. It basically allows Disney to have great marketing, publicity, all those things to a younger generation who is still thoroughly in love with this game, with this universe. Now, I don't know if they're going to be holding like live screenings within the game, kind of like what they've done with some of the concert releases they've done in Fortnite. Maybe they'll do some trailer reveals. There's a lot of stuff that they did and they try to like mess around with and test with on Fortnite. So who knows what they're going to be doing there. But I think it's going to be really exciting for a lot of people. And who knows, maybe it may also entice those who are not familiar with Fortnite or don't play Fortnite regularly, like myself, to maybe give Fortnite a shot. Am I asking for too much? I don't know. But like I keep saying, only time will tell. But this is a lot of major announcement, a lot of stuff. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more stuff dropping in the coming weeks here. And maybe more clarification on the Marvel side of things and the Star Wars side of things. I'm sure there'll be more to come. And when they do, you can rest assured that I'll be here to help read it, break it down, and have a conversation about it. And the best way to find out too is to make sure you follow the channel here and check out the live streams. The morning after live stream happens on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's where I usually cover all the pop culture related news, movie news, all that good stuff. Give some reviews, some live reactions, whatever the case is. So if you want to stay up to date with all of that, make sure you check those out and make sure you are subscribed to the channel with notifications on to get notified every time we go live here or anytime a video is posted. Obviously, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more of this stuff and help the algorithms out, show your support, hit that like button. Or if you didn't like any of this stuff, hit the dislike button too. I'm going to head on out for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to all of your comments down below about some of the things that stood out to you with all the Disney announcements and everything that was dropped this week. Let me know your thoughts on everything, and I will catch you in the next one. So stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Peace out, y'all. Bye-bye.